Hey everybody, I'm Ronan and welcome to my Paladin video. In today's video, we are going to be talking Oath of Vengeance along with College of Swords Bard as a multi-class hybrid build. This build does work for Oathbreakers as well, and technically you would do a little bit more damage as an Oathbreaker because of your aura of hate. So if you are an Oathbreaker, feel free, you can do the same exact setup that I'm going to be talking about for Oath of Vengeance in this build, much as an Oathbreaker, so do that route if you want. That being said, not everyone wants to be an Oathbreaker, so I wanted to do a Vengeance build that you don't see. Pretty much all the Vengeance builds I found online were two-handed, full-arm Sentinel kind of like hybrid stuff, and I've seen that done so many times, so I wanted to do something different. So I thought about how could I make a sword and board a tanky Paladin that also does good damage and have good utility. In my last video, I said I'd have a poll asking what you guys wanted to see. The Paladin, Oathbreaker, and Vengeance came in first, with my Witcher themed build and Bard multiclass coming in a close second. I also had a ton of comments telling me to make some builds that aren't normally seen on YouTube. People want dual wield builds, people want some different type of ranger builds, necromancer stuff, all kinds of things. And I am going to get to all of that, I promise. But I do want to come out with the Paladin Oath of Vengeance build first that can be used for Oathbreaker as well. The build after that will be a really fun dual wield Oathbreaker build that I don't think anyone has seen yet, and it's really fun. But that being said, this video today is the Oath of Vengeance Bard multiclass, so I hope you guys enjoy. First thing you do usually when making your character, going for a Paladin. Because your mobility is low, my top three choices would be Githyanki. Getting a free Misty Step is pretty nice. They also get the enhanced jump. You have the half elf with high elf, with wood elf or wood elves normally for the increased movement speed. Or my personal favorite, Zariel Tieflings. The spells that they receive are really nice, especially Branding Smite, since you can use that from a ranged attack as well. But really, pick whatever you want. For the video showcase, I actually made my Karlach into this Oath of Vengeance Bard-like multi-class, and it's been a lot of fun, so it's one of my favorite Karlach builds to make. Your race is going to have minimal adjustments on gameplay, so if you're really not sure what you want to do, pick whatever you think looks cool. Alright, let's continue. Okay. So you chose your race. At level 1, I am actually going to be going Oath of Vengeance with this stat spread here. To note before we go further, if you want to optimize this for pure damage, you would want to use the Hag's Hair and put it in strength. That way as soon as you hit level 4 you can get your strength maxed out, and that then would allow you to add even more to charisma. I'm using the Hag Hair on a different character, so I don't have that on her. That being said, I went with this stat spread here. Because of a certain aura that you get at level 6, your saving throws, even though you have -1 in Dex, Intelligence, Wisdom, will end up being positive. When it comes to your skill proficiencies, pick whatever you want. Intimidation and Persuasion probably are really good to have though, considering you will have at least 16 Charisma in this build. When it comes to leveling up, you want to go at least 2 points in Paladin to start. If you want a multi-class after that, you can. But to make this video easier, we are going to talk about the Paladin levels first and then the Bard levels after. So at level 2 for Paladin, you are going to get your Divine Smites, which is really nice because that's your kind of bread and butter for having the biggest burst as well. When it comes to your spells, pick whatever you want, it's really up to you. I personally like having Thunderous Smite though, because it's nice to be able to knock someone away with an actual melee attack. Searing Smite I don't worry about because as a Zariel Tiefling you already gain a better version of this anyway. Fighting style, we are going to be picking defense here. This is going to be a sword and board spec, so eventually we will get dueling for extra damage, but we're going to get that when we multi-class with the Bard, so just for extra AC for now we're going with defense. Okay, level 3 is nice because you gain some more spell slots. You are immune to diseases, which is pretty cool. You gain your 2 vows, and you gain some oath spells. Bane I hardly ever used. A Hunter's Mark is nice just to add a little bit of extra damage, and it's on a bonus action too. It's pretty cool. Okay, level 4 Paladin is nice because you gain some more Lay on Hands charges. Lay on Hands is really nice because it scales off your total level and not your Paladin level, so even when you multi-class, you'll still have really powerful Lay on Hands to heal yourself, which is even better considering it doesn't take a spell slot. Feats, we're going with ability improvement. I'm getting my strength to 18 and constitution to 16. If you wanted dexterity, intelligence, or wisdom, or anything else like that, you could easily drop your constitution down. It's really up to you. Okay, Paladin 5 was the level we wanted to get to as soon as possible. This level is what gives you extra attack, that way you can attack twice in combat. You gain some more spell slots, which is pretty cool. You gain some new spells. Really, the level 2 spells here aren't that big of a deal. Pick whatever you want, doesn't matter. And at Paladin level 6, you will gain Aura of Protection. I know it says +0 right now. This scales off your Charisma modifier. So what this is going to do, because we have 16 Charisma, we will gain +3 in all saving throws and all allies within 10 feet of us, which is really nice considering we have pretty bad dex, intel, and wisdom. So those saving throws are now going to be a positive because of Aura of Protection. And at Paladin level 7, for the Oath of Vengeance, you gain Relentless Avenger. So anytime you hit an enemy with an opportunity attack, you gain 15 feet of movement speed your next turn. This is pretty nice considering Paladins have pretty low movement speed. We are not going to be going Paladin 8 unless you want the extra feet, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So now I'm going to start multi-classing with the Bard. So right away, your cantrips, the 2 default ones are, in my opinion, the best ones to have. You have the Vicious Mockery, which is nice, so that creature has disadvantage on their next attack roll. And Blade Ward's never a bad cantrip considering it's just an action to give yourself half damage from melee stuff. So pretty useful if you want to have that to survive. Spells, you don't need Heroism, you already have that as a Paladin. So pick whatever you want. For the most part, your spells are going to be used for Divine Smites anyway. So you want to use something that is either going to help out with CC or help out your allies. Definitely you want Tasha's Hideous Laughter. This is an amazing ability. This thing is so good because this makes them get CC'd. Really powerful spell, so I like having that for sure. That's the only one I would say for sure take. Anything else, pick whatever you want. Starting instrument, up to you. I'm going to go with the flute. Abilities, you can change this to give yourself a little bit of an increase, so all these things that are -1 because of our modifiers can now be better. I would say put it in perception, that way your perception isn't bad. Alright, at Bard level 2, you do gain Jack of all trades, which is pretty nice, just adding half your proficiency bonus to ability checks you're not proficient in. Kind of helps out with that negative modifier we had, so it's nice to have that. You gain Song of Rest, so now you can give your allies a 3rd short rest when normally you would have 2, which is pretty cool. And you gain some more spell slots. You gain a new spell, again, pick whatever you want, doesn't matter. Now we have Bard level 3, and we are going to be going with College of Swords. This is going to give us the cool, I guess, action abilities you could use in combat, which is really nice because it takes Bardic Inspiration to do. You have the one to attack 2 enemies at once, the ability to increase your AC, to do it from a range as well, and then you have the ability to attack someone, send them flying, and also teleport to them as well. Like from melee or ranged, it's really nice to have access to these. Even better because you can also Divine Smite with it too. And this right here says it does 1d6 slashing. This is going to increase the higher we go. For our build here, it's not going to get to max, but it will get to at least 1d8. Fighting style, you go dueling. We are using sword and board, so just getting flat 2 additional damage on all of our attacks is nice. Spells, now you actually unlock some spells that are worth using. Cloud of Daggers, great AoE, just area denial. If they walk in it, they take damage. Invisibility, survivability. I mean, pick whichever one you want here at that level. Okay, and at Bard level 4, you get to choose another cantrip, pick whatever you want. Spell-wise, again, pick whatever you think would be useful here. If you didn't take invisibility yet, I would highly suggest it. Your feat, ability improvement, you want to get that strength maxed out as soon as possible. Again, we mentioned earlier how you can get this maxed out at level 4 if you use the Hag's Hair, but I didn't have it for this character. Okay, so you could either choose to be Bard level 5, which will give you your Bardic Inspirations will be 1d8, so all those cool Bardic attacks you can do will do an additional 1d8 damage instead of 1d6. But you have the option to have all your Bardic Inspiration come back after a short rest instead of a long rest. Really, it's up to you, whatever you want to do, but you also gain rank 4 level spells. You would not have rank 4 spells normally as a Paladin, so it's nice to have that, which is why I go Bard level 5, and you get to choose a spell. It's only rank 3 spells that you can choose from, but you can have your Divine Smite go up to rank 4. If you don't want to go that route, you could go Paladin 8 to get the extra feat. Choose whatever you want. Alert might be good because your dex is low, so that way you have +5 initiative. Or you can go ability improvement to get your charisma to 18, and with the hat later in Act 3 it would be 20. Really, it's up to you. I like going Bard 5 though, to have these recharge on a short rest, and to get the extra spell slot level. So really, whatever you want to do. Okay, with the levels broken down, let's talk about why I really like College of Swords for this combo here. A, you get Bardic Inspiration, which is nice because you could use this on your allies, or you can use it in combat. And because we put 5 points into actual Bard, even though it says once per long rest, you can actually have all of these recharge on a short rest cooldown. And I'll show that for everyone to see. But what's really great is the different abilities you can have. You have your defensive flourish, so if you need more AC, you pop this, guess what? If you hit, you have +4 AC. Really great, making it extremely hard for enemies to hit you. You have one where you can attack up to 2 enemies at once, and each enemy you hit, you can also proc your Divine Smite on, so it makes them for extreme cleave damage with that. You also have one of my favorites, the teleport. This thing is absolutely insane. You knock the enemy back, and then without using a bonus action or anything else, you can literally teleport. And all of these have a ranged version as well. And we are going to be using a bow we'll talk about in a minute that actually scales with your strength, which is nice. So for example, if I go up to my main character here, and I use the one to knock him back, I don't want to kill him, so I'm not going to do anything else. But you have this come up in your little corner here. I can now use this and teleport to the enemy. That is huge. If you want to knock someone back and then get to them, like say you know you want to reposition after attacking someone, I can use that and it doesn't take an action, and I still have my other extra attack to do whatever I want with, which is nice. So I really like that a lot. The reason I really wanted this build to work for Karlach is because of her race. Her specific tiefling race gains Legacy of Avernus, as well as her own Legacy of Avernus Searing Smite. This one is melee only, but did you know this one can actually be applied to a ranged attack? It says melee or ranged, which is really cool. So even though the bow you have, it does scale with strength, isn't going to be hitting as hard as other bows as if you went dex, you can add your Legacy of Avernus on there to do a little bit more damage if needed. And you have your Bardic Inspirations here, which will add more damage as well. All these will add an additional 1d8 of damage when you use it. So you can actually make a bow that doesn't hit that hard hit even harder. because this bow will do an additional +6 damage because of your strength, because I have 22 strength. So the main feature of this is the fact that you do have these different flourishes you can do that will recharge on a short rest. So you saw I did one and I now have 4. So if I use my short rest, you can see it went back up to 5, which is really nice. You have a decent amount of spell slots, and you have higher spell slots than you would normally have as a paladin anyway, because you go up to rank 4. Some other great features is the fact that you also have Aura of Protection. So equal to your charisma modifier, you gain +3 to saving throws for yourself and allies within range up to 10 meters. This is huge. This means for the most part, even though I have pretty bad wisdom, intelligence, and dexterity, I'm still going to have a positive saving throw in those categories because of the aura protection, which is why I decided to put at least 6 points into Paladin rather than doing 2 Paladin and the rest Bard. You could go 2 Paladin and the rest Bard if you wanted to gain even more spell slots and spells, but that's more of a Bard and less of a Paladin, and I wanted more of a Paladin feel. Some other great things you have though, you have your Channel Oath Charge, which if you take a look at the 3 different ones that you receive, Abjure Enemy is okay. I mean, could be better, could be worse. It sucks that it's on an action, so you can't even attack after you use it. Your Vow is great. I mean, you gain advantage on attack rolls against the enemy, and this one is a bonus action. So this one is actually really big because this lasts for 10 turns. So that's really huge. Really great for boss kills and just nuking someone down. And then you have your Inquisitor's Might, just adding radiant damage for you every single turn when you attack. So pretty nice. This is just extra damage. In my opinion, the Vow is the best one because gaining advantage on your attack rolls against the enemy is really huge because you're going to roll 2 dice and it's going to take the higher of the dice when that's up. So this is really nice. You only have 1 Oath Charge, but there is a piece of armor you can buy at Moonrise Towers that will actually allow you to recharge your Oath once per long rest. You can equip it, use it, get your Oath back, and then put on your other chest piece if you like, or if you just want to use that piece, you can use it as well. This build does use the Blood of Lathander, the legendary mage you can get in Act 1. This thing is just crazy. You literally get a get out of jail free card. It pretty much gives you the orc ratio, but better because it'll heal allies as well. And if you are an orc, it does stack with that as well. You get a level 6 spell you can use once per long rest, Sunbeam, which blinds enemies that it hits. Does a lot of damage, it's really powerful. You gain a passive you can turn on and off, Lathander's Light, which is just huge because A, it helps out with the Shadow Curse in Act 2, but it will blind any type of like fiends and undead that are within its radius, assuming they fail the check. This weapon is just huge, and being a paladin, I thought it was quite fitting to use. You can use other things, but I really personally like this a lot. It hits pretty hard for a one-hander, and the additional effects it gives just really makes you into the perfect kind of like tank that also has great utility along with the bard features as well. I do have a really nice shield. This shield is huge because A, gives me +2 AC, which is pretty cool. I gain an additional 1 level spell slot, which is really nice. So now I have 5 level 1 spell slots. Considering you have a lot of just level 1 spells in general, you have your Hunter's Mark, so you can put that on the enemy to do additional damage as a bonus action. You have your Shield of Faith if you need to give yourself extra AC. You have all kinds of different spells, and as you level up, the spells that you want from the Bard section is really up to you. So you have a pretty good variety of spells. So it's just having the level 1 spell slot is really nice for all those extra spells as well as Divine Smites. But it does come with some other things as well. You also gain the Shield Bash ability. So on a reaction, if someone were to hit you, as long as your reaction is up, you can actually use Shield Bash on them and have a chance to knock them pro, assuming they fail their dexterity saving throw. And when someone is prone, you have advantage on your attack rolls on your turn, so that's pretty huge. Plus it gives you the Shielded Devotion aid, So this right here, it heals you by 10, which isn't that big of a deal, but once per long rest, and this is an action too, by the way, not a spell, you just gain 10 maximum HP. So this shield is amazing. You should always use this shield. So if you take it off though, your HP goes down. So as long as you're using this shield and you pop the spell, which right now I already used it, so it's on a cooldown for a long rest. As long as you keep the shield equipped, you will have plus 10 permanent HP at all times, since you can use it every single long rest. So my suggestion is, as soon as you get done your long rest, pop this ability, there you go. You now have 10 free extra hit points until your next long rest. It's really, really nice. Even though as an Oathbreaker Paladin, you do get to actually learn Misty Step as a spell, I have a pair of boots that reset on a short cooldown. So these boots that you get from Trussel Nair in the Grimforge in Act 1 are really great. You can't be enwebbed, entangled, or ensnared, which is pretty huge because Paladins already have kind of some bad mobility. But the fact that you also can't slip on grease or ice is nice, and it just gives you Misty Step for free. You can use once on a short rest. That's really nice for mobility and saving you an extra spell slot that you would normally have to use. So as you can see, you have the spell slot at level 2 and then the ones from the boot. So I really like using these on a Paladin, just that combination is really huge. The gloves, the Wondrous gloves, these are really up to you. You don't have to use these because you do gain your Bardic Inspiration back on a short rest. These aren't necessarily needed, but it does give you plus 1 AC, and it does give you the option to gain 1 additional Bardic Inspiration. My suggestion, however, is if you want to go for more damage, use the Flawed Helldust gloves. These are really great. Don't necessarily need them. You could use whatever you want. These gloves you need to get from a quest, but basically gives you the ability to give yourself advantage at all times. Really long quest chain. I'm not going to go into details about it here, but you can use those. I don't know where I found these gloves here, but they're really cool because whenever you do radiant damage, it puts a radiant orb on the enemy, making that enemy have -1 to their attack rolls. And with you being a paladin and smiting all the time, that's really nice to have. The chest piece we're going with is definitely the Flawed Helldusk armor. This is one of the best chest pieces you can get right now. You could also use the chest piece you get in the Grimforge as well. I just happen to like these. I love the way it looks. I think it looked really good. Aesthetic wise, I just look really cool, and it kind of matches the shield as well in my opinion. But I like the fact that when you're hit by a foe within 7 feet, it has a chance to make that foe take fire damage, which is really cool because my cape I'm using, whenever a creature in melee does damage to me, they take acid damage. So this can stack. So if you get lucky on the rolls, you can do an additional 8 damage to the enemy just from being hit. Not to mention, you could also use your reaction to shield bash the enemy too. This cape actually comes from the morgue inside Act 2. And I'll post it up on a map in a second when we get into detail when to find this stuff. But I found this to be really useful. If you don't use this, just from the vendor that you can buy a bunch of useful items from inside Last Lights Inn, there's also the Cloak of Protection. So if you wanted +1 to saving throws, that stacks with your aura as well, giving you +4 at all times. And even more AC, you could pop that on as well if you want. The helm is really going to be up to you. I mean, I just used the Helldust stuff because I got all of it from Damon doing the quest, so I figured why not just use it all on one character. It has some good stuff, but you know, you don't have to use it. You could use whatever you wanted here. If you are playing an Oathbreaker, there is the Necromancer you will end up having to fight at some point in time in Act 2. And that Necromancer is going to give you Circle of Bones, which gives you the ability to animate dead. So if you are going the Oathbreaker spell and you want that Necromancer feel, even though you don't put enough points in the Paladin to unlock the spell normally, now you do, which is really cool. The only thing I would warn is your mace right here, its light will affect the undead you actually spawn as well. So you will want to make sure in your passives you turn this off so it doesn't affect your allied undead. And that goes for if anyone's playing with a necromancer or anything like that, it affects them too. When it comes to your jewelry, Kalos Glow Ring is actually underrated. It says the wearer deals an additional 2 points of damage against creatures that are illuminated. Well, anytime you attack someone with this mace, they're going to be illuminated, assuming you have the light feature actually on. It says only 2. Well, this actually stacks with other effects. If you Divine Smite the enemy, this will add to the Divine Smite damage as well. So check this out. So we're going to go into turn-based mode again. I'm going to go ahead and just use a bonus action. We'll go... Actually, you know what? We'll go with Channel Divinity just for this one. So I'm going to use it. And now I'm going to go up and I'm going to attack myself here. You know, I'll crit myself. Why not? Do like super crit. You know, you see I have paralyzing critical. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I'm going to use my big crit. So the damage roll here, it is a critical, so it is rolled twice. The damage itself could have been a little bit better. Seems I rolled a little bit low, but it is what it is. I got the acidic damage from my other ring, but take a look at the radiant damage. So Inquisitor's Might gains +2 damage from the Kalos ring. You take a look at my Divine Smite, you get another +2 damage as well. So already you're at +4 damage right there, which is really nice. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot, but adding another +2 damage on every single hit is actually pretty nice. And even if I had Inquisitor's Might off, it would still be procced, which is pretty cool. So that's why I like that ring. I mean, for paladins themselves, just adding the extra 2 damage to every Divine Smite plus your regular hit is going to be pretty big. And of course, if you put on like the flawed Helldust gloves, because your weapon attacks do fire damage, you would have 1d4 fire damage. You would have +2 damage from your ring right here that you get in Act 1 from the vendor. You would have potentially 2 to 4 additional damage as well, assuming if you Divine Smite or not. It adds up a lot. The neck right here, you actually get from a boss in Act 2 that most people will end up fighting because you have to pretty much fight him to do a certain quest. This is great because on humanoid targets only, once per long rest, when you score a crit, you can paralyze them for 2 turns. And when an enemy is paralyzed, every single hit that they receive is going to be a critical. That is huge, and this is going to be super useful in Act 3. Well, what's great is your Luck of the Far Realms has a long rest cooldown, so you can combine these two. Anytime you crit, you should always use this. That way they will gain the paralyze function, and when you crit, you do want to make sure you use your rank 4 Divine Smite. That way you get the highest like crit damage as well. That way your Divine Smite hits really hard. So the combo there is huge, and once your Luck of the Far Realms is off cooldown, then go ahead and switch this necklace out for anything that you want. Okay, now that that's said, let's go ahead and go over where you can actually get all the armor pieces. For the strength bow, you would want to actually do the quest for the hideout in Act 1. This vendor here will end up selling it as long as you do the quest first. The quest is to gain the chest north of the knolls. Don't lockpick it, it has to be sealed and bring it over. That being said, if you mess up the quest or they're kind of angry towards you like they are here on my file, another really great bow to have is going to be the short bow you get in Act 2, assuming you save Daemon. It is the Darkfire short bow. This is going to give you the ability to cast haste. That thing is amazing. If you are a tiefling, you already have fire resistance, so it won't stack, but this also gives you fire and cold resistance, which is really nice. So this is another fantastic bow, especially if you're not going to be using the ranged attacks much at all. You don't need the strength scaling bow, so this is another bow I would highly recommend getting. To get the ring for +2 acidic damage when your weapon attacks, you want to go to the Underdark. You can see it's right here on the map. This character here is going to end up selling it for you. The chest piece we talked about earlier to actually gain an oath charge back can be bought from the vendor in Moonrise Towers, assuming you don't kill her in Act 1. The little halfling person that you see in the Goblin Camp. And if you did want to use a cape that makes the enemy take acidic damage when they hit you in melee, to the left of the House of Healing, there will be a morgue you want to enter. Go into that morgue. There is a fight there. To the right out of the morgue is a poison area. There's a chest somewhere in the poison area. I forgot exactly where, but you have to jump to it and that will give you the cape. This glow ring, if you did want to use it, it is inside the Temple of Shar. Assume you go through there and you pretty much do everything you can, you're bound to find it. I apologize, I don't remember exactly where in the temple I got it from, but it's in Act 2 within that temple. In order to gain the gloves for Bardic Inspiration +1 AC, you want to come to the Grimforge. I'm right here on the map, and you'll find these 3 mimics. I don't remember which one it actually is in, but kill them all and loot them. It's going to be on one of the bodies. The boots, whether you kill Nair actually by blowing up everything and fighting him, or if you just let him die naturally, you can still loot him and gain the boots. Also in the Grimforge right here in the middle. Alright, and now that you know where all the armor pieces are, one other combo I really like doing, especially if I know I need to close the distance, is to shoot someone with my ranged weapon, assuming I'm not at disadvantage when I go to fire it, and using the one to actually let me teleport. So if I use the one that lets me teleport, I could shoot her. It's only a 30% chance, so I'm probably gonna miss. Oh, I hit her. Okay, great. So now I can teleport over there. Assuming she stood there and stayed still, I could go over and start attacking her with melee now. I really like these flourishes. They add so much just potential for movement while actually adding damage at the same time. It's really, really nice. I did say earlier how if I go to attack, you can actually use your branding smite with the actual ranged weapon. So I do want to show that off. I can use it. I missed, but you can use it with the ranged weapon. The concentration spell doesn't matter. I mean, you're doing it just for the extra damage anyway. But it's nice to stop someone from going invisible in case you were fighting that type of enemy. But yeah, guys, that pretty much breaks down the build. It's real simple. You're a sword and board paladin tank. You get some extra mobility from your opportunity attacks because of Oath of Vengeance, and if you are an Oathbreaker, you just get extra damage equal to your charisma modifier because of our hate. Anyway, I will be having the dual wield build come out maybe later this week, if not early next week. It hits really hard, so I'm really excited for that one. It's gonna be really fun to have everyone check that out. I'm really proud of that one, so I'm really looking forward to releasing it. When it comes to the other builds that people have been requesting, I am going to be getting to them. It's just a matter of time. But let me know what else you really want to see down below in the comments. And if you learned anything new, please let me know. And if you have any suggestions for this build in general, let people know in the comments, you know. Improving is always a good thing for everybody. Anyway, if you made it at the end of this video, you're awesome, and see you next time. Bye-bye.